that we have roots in a system that promotes systemic racism. We didn't get here on accident. It was on purpose. And where we can see what our purpose is and where our involvement was, we can see what our purpose is in navigating the future. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to start with introductions to my left, and we'll just go through in a circle.
My name's Leah, and I am also a justice impacted person. I'm just here for the absorption, to lift and to see what I can offer to those that, might be going down a pathway that's not necessarily the one they want to travel. I always lead with my own lived experience and everything I do. I work with youth, and a lot of it is about, I can only share with you what I've done, how I've walked, and hopefully that can influence or change the way that you see things or envision your path to be. I'm a single mother. Right now, I'm really in a place where my emotions are all over the place. I'll cry probably many times just 2 hours. But just last year, my brother was murdered. So our family is going through that way 2 months right now. So we're walking through that as well. And just trying to figure out how do you live without the loved ones. But yeah, I'm here. I'm here for it all, and I'm real raw and transparent. I don't know how to deliver it any other way.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Cynthia. I'm also justice impacted. In fact, my entire family has been justice impacted, formerly incarcerated. I am a member of the Minnesota Second Chance Coalition Training Committee. And I'm here today, I hate it when you talk before me, Monse, because you always say everything that I want to say. But, one thing that I had to learn about myself, and now it's something that I really sincerely try to impart to others like me, is that I am not my worst behavior, and that my history didn't happen in a vacuum. I come from a very dysfunctional, abusive family of origin, and that set the stage for all of the decisions that I made when I was a adolescent that started me on this journey to incarceration. Now, what I do, the process of feeding my self-worth and my self-esteem, learning how to love me despite what society would tell me makes me worthless, unlovable, without value. Learning how to reject those messages that I was given as a child, that is not who I am, that I have a purpose, that I have power, that my voice carries weight, and that it wasn't just given to me for me, it was given me to share and to advocate and to speak up for those who may not be where I'm at in this journey yet. I've been doing this work for a long time. I'm pretty active in bringing awareness to injustice and systemic racism in my community and also where I work. I work with formerly incarcerated people with substance use disorders because I myself, I'm got over 22 years of recovery from active addiction. And there is life beyond what is meant to bury us. You know, like we're survivors, we're strong, and we have a duty, we have an obligation to bring our stories and our lives to these tables and to these rooms and speak up on behalf of others, and give hope. And then also educate, you know, educate those who do not know, who've never had the opportunity to speak to someone like me about these things. You know, they don't know. If you see me walking down the street, you don't know. You don't know my history. You don't know where I've come from, where I've been, what I've done. You know, so people that register and join and listen, thank you for being here, so that you can take the information that you learned here and pass it to the next one. I hope that's what we're all doing.
Yeah.
And I will pass it to you, sis.
My name's Amy. I'm also a justice impacted woman. At 18, I was given 12 years for murder, second-degree murder. I didn't actually pull the trigger, but my involvement was severe enough where I was given a lengthy sentence. I was actually locked up with Leah and Sylvia. We did a lot of time together, so we know each other. We kind of know each other's history a little bit. I think the biggest thing is that when you first get arrested, they don't give you like your whole rights. Like they don't tell you that this, if you plead guilty to this, it's gonna follow you. Like it was 25 years ago, and I can't get housing. I can't get the job I want. I have a bachelor's degree. I can't even use. So I think that's the biggest thing in early intervention. Like I started committing crimes at like 14 years old, and they just lock you up. There's no early intervention. I think is the biggest helpful thing, you know, to have women like us, you know, mentor to kids, but we can't because of our this severity of the felony. You know, you're banned for life actually to, you know, work with like vulnerable adults. And they don't tell you that when you know, before you plead guilty. People are like I had a public defender, you know, and they just want to get it done with. Like, so I think that's the biggest thing is early intervention and, you know, help at prison too. There was no mental health evaluations, there's no substance evaluation, you know what I mean? They just put you away and you gotta deal with it. So that's why I'm here.
My mom's a justice impact woman, and I was incarcerated when I was 27. But it was for first degree attempted murder, but I took a plea bargain for street assault. But at the same time, my kids were given life sentence for something that I did and went to prison, and that really hurted me. But instead of, you know, taking it hard, I took advantage of the knowledge, you know, going to school and graduated with the high school diploma from Shakopee High School and went to college, and I got out, and that's when everything was different to me because of beepers and then there were cell phones, so not no more dimes, it was 25-cent phone calls, so it was a big change in my life. But at the same time, my kids are still suffering that choice that I made. But I was defending myself, but it didn't matter because then there was no self-defense in Minnesota. So I said, yeah, okay, I took the plea bargain. But when I got out, it was so different, and I still went to college out here. I was welding for Life Fitness and going good and stuff, and I thought everything would be different. And it got bad. I'm not gonna say I didn't get mixed up and stuff, but I did again. But it took a lot for me to reach out and swallow my pride, ask for help. So I stay at Emma Norton right now, and that's a part that I took, and that's where I'm at now. And now I'm trying to re-enter into my own body, you know, now I'm out again, so that's where I'm at, part of life. But Same time I look back, I could never change that for my kids. Because it's something that just, it stays with you. A choice that you made, even if it was a good choice, but I'm good, I'm proud of myself, you know, and I know my voice carries out. You know, I can crack a lot of jokes or whatever, but it just happens, and I thank God every day. And I'm here to tell you where I've been, you know, where I'm going, because it's God's choice where I'm gonna end up at, you know, and it's a blessing. And I want to reach out and let people know my wisdom and knowledge, because it's very powerful, and I know my voice is a leader, and I'm gonna keep going, even with, you know, wishing the worst, it's gonna be bad for this good.
Yeah.
It's just a setback, but the comeback will be worth it, you know?
Yeah.
And thank God for that. So, Judy?
All right, hi, I'm Selena. And I was incarcerated on the Great Session. I ended up getting the max amount of time back before the drug laws changed, I believe. I the struggle is so real. So I kind of just wanted to make this part a little bit brief. I'm sure we're gonna go around again. So I lost my brother, and so this was when I was 25. So I just passed 9 years ago, and I worked at the bank. I mean, I had experience, and I lost my one and only brother. So it was like right after that, I was careless, reckless. I mean, my drug use went out of control. Basically, it was just charge after charge after charge. But they had put them all together. You know how they do that, and just give you that one sentence. I actually got very lucky. I'm a 4-time felon. So to only have to do 21 months, they were really lenient, because that was like right when the drug laws were changing. But because I caught my case prior to that, I had to go based off of that, you know, sentence. But basically, I mean, the main thing for me is your surroundings. Like, you know, you're going through it, I'm going through it. And when we find them struggles, we just have to go back to what we know works for us and what we don't. And even that there is difficult, because it's easier for us to go drift off into a negative, you know, surrounding, versus feeling like we're a burden to our family because we're going through a struggle, because we all tend to do that a lot. And then we isolate, or we push ourselves away from those that love us, that want to be able to be supportive. So basically, my main thing is just be an advocate for those that are struggling, those that get out and they do go through that. Okay, where do I go next? What do I do? Do I go to this treatment facility? Do I go to a, you know, what do you call them? After work, the work college or whatever it is, you know what I mean. So you know what I mean. But that won't always be good. You know, you still have to have that positive surroundings. You know, those that are going to be a good impact in your life, and there are those that are going to be guiding you. Like, my struggles are still here too, all the time. Like, all the time I have to face some struggles, and this what we do, talking, like when Stace and I were talking about it this morning, I'm like, dude, I need this right now. Like, to be able to speak up and help others is also one, processing it, getting through our battles and our struggles too, and then also surrounding ourselves with those that are positive. Because the second that we go and drift away with somebody that's not healthy, because we're vulnerable, and that's what we do when we're sick, it's just asking for something negative to happen. So like, and I mean, I still catch myself doing it all the time. Like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, and then, you know, it's tough, it's hard, it's super hard. But this is the way this is what pushes me to be able to help others, to be able to talk to those. Surround yourself with positive people. Look for other things that interest you. You know, that's really the main thing for me. And I think that's
Yeah,
really-
second.
Sorry. Okay, my name is Tier Caldwell. I am justice impacted as well. I did 73 and a half months for first degree assault. And you know, it was a situation where had I'm being honest, had I not been so deep in my addiction, I think it may have went a different way and I wouldn't have been incarcerated. But my addiction played a huge role. My addiction, my past way of thinking, and my surroundings and the people I decided, I chose to surround myself with led up to my incarceration. But, I always knew, even while I was surrounding myself, indulging in my addiction, that it was a lot more to me than what I was doing at that time. And so I just, when I was released, I tried to, I was nervous. I was like, man, I got a record. What am I? Nobody's gonna hire me. What am I gonna do? And just all that. Because, inside, even in prison, the guards will tell you, you're gonna have a hard time getting a job, buddy. You're like, they'll tell you that. Yeah. And, they won't really offer any resources or anything. And so, but I got kind of a never give up spirit, and I'm just gonna keep going until I get it. And it got to a point to where I felt like uncomfortable not telling my story, like, cause like I told in the beginning, like it already happened, and that's not all there is to me anyway. So if you wanna like think you know me based off of one mistake that was like 10 years ago, then hey, I don't really think you're the type of company I like to keep anyway. Cause I mean, we all have skeletons in our closet. And some of us just haven't been caught for what they've done. And so I could go on a lot deeper with that, but we're gonna keep it brief. And as time progresses, we're gonna do a circle process, and so we'll get to it. But
You see, look at me when you said circle. Send me a text message. I'll go up at the end.
yeah. So, but no, these spaces are important for healing, number one, but also there's a lot of people who may or may not be even on this call who serve people who are impacted, and they may just look at what the person was charged with and judge them based off of that alone, without necessarily getting to know what happened, what your trauma was when you were a child. Like, what are your triggers? What's your family like? Like, have you had any grief and loss? And everybody here has had a lot of grief and loss. And but a lot of the times, the people who are responsible for serving us don't really take the time to look at. A lot of it is just, okay, yeah, I know what you need. Just take this and just fine. But we're humans. you know, we go through things and we deserve to be humanized. And so with that, I'll pass to Ms. Nia.
Okay, well, I'll keep my introduction pretty brief too. So my name is Nia Forte. I haven't been like really locked up, you know what I mean? I have done some stuff in my past, petty, you know what I mean? But I haven't been locked up, you know, like you guys, so it's not like that serious or whatever. But I'm an advocate for women that has been locked up, that has been sex trafficked, that have been using drugs, just all type of mental illnesses, you know. So I relate a lot, and I've been working in this field for over 15, 20 years, you know, and I have been through some things too in my past. But I like to give back and work with people because I feel like when you like a woman that has been through some things, it's nothing like working or talking with someone that has experienced those things, right? Like, what's the best way to help someone if you can't relate? So I love what I do, and yeah, I'm just, you know, I'm here to try to give a little education if possible and learn some things myself. So yeah, that's me. Pretty brief.
Thank you.
Thank you all, just for opening up and being able to get through the introduction. Each and every person said that was a vulnerable moment for them, and it's naive. And so, you know, in this space, we're gonna honor and respect that. And as Tia mentioned, there might be somebody watching or sees this later somewhere on YouTube and passes on the education based on the crimes committed. First of all, I want to say everything has beauty and everyone has value. And when we take a look at our stories from that light, it's a loss for them to miss out on the education of people to help understand. Because if you are listening with more than your ears, if you're listening to with your heart and that place they call the soul, you can hear that there's trauma rooted in everybody's story around the table. People just don't wake up and commit crime.
Right.
You know, we have views of the world that we inherit, and they come from our upbringing. And some of those are our most closest people, our mothers, our fathers, our siblings, our other influential people in our life that were close to us. We learn how to problem solve based on the way that we see problem solved. In my home, it was domestic violence, it was sex, it was drug use, it was culture of the gang life permeated my family environment. That is the only thing that I ever knew. That is the only thing that I ever aspired to be. Because those were heroes. You know, I didn't have an influence or a nurturing environment, anybody or anything else. And so I gravitated towards what was around me, just the people at this table have done as well.
Yeah.
And so when we share pieces of us, what's most often left out is the leader. You know, what happened at 5? What happened at 7? What happened at 10? What happened at 12? You know, because we just don't go from being a person who cries when we're sad and laughing at what we think is funny to not showing a tear.
Right, yeah.
Or to covering up our smile. That just doesn't happen. But when we're young, you know, you think about kindergarten, pre-K, we laughed at what you felt. It's fine. We cried at what made you sad. And then somewhere along the way, you become shaped by other people's fears and other people's insecurities. And I know that, you know, the people in my life meant well, but they definitely had some unresolved trauma issues.
Exactly.
And because of whatever they did and they thought was okay to do, that left an impression on me. And you don't know better until you know better, you know. And once you know better, you become aware. With awareness becomes responsibility. The responsibility to do better. And so I think there's pieces of us in all of our stories that want to do better. And as we went around the room, some people said it's hard, you know, and it is hard. And my old pieces just don't go away. They just don't disappear, you know, I have to manage them.
That's right.
And when they pop up, I have to counter them.
Yeah.
But if we tap into our personal power is to think a better thought, to say a better word, and to do a better deed.
Yes.
You know, and so that's my challenge when I walk through life. I don't ignore my past or any of those circumstances that made me. The life that I lived, it gave me an infinite amount of knowledge. Some of those things I wasn't ready to learn, but I did. Some of those things I shouldn't have learned, but I did. But I take that as a knowledge system to guide me in my path moving forward. Because there's more people going through the same thing. There's more, somebody right now is being told, shut up, don't be a sissy,
Yeah.
don't cry. Somebody right now is being told the same messages that I was told. And so my thing was, I was never gonna be a sissy. I was never gonna be one. I was gonna be the hardest guy that I've ever seen in my entire life. And who's never was that? Because I wasn't born with that.
Right.
Somebody gave that to me as a way that I should live. And the most heartbreaking thing about that is like people that I looked up to who carved me into the person that I became. They weren't even like they were impressing me to be.
Exactly.
They were the most fallible, most foul, most disrespectful, unloyal people in the world.
That's usually how it goes.
And you know, it's like seeing your superhero without his mask on and just eating cheeseburger on the couch or watching something funny on TV. I would never turn the channel to. You know, and so now, if we back it up and we think about how empowering it is to share our lead up, is there anything that inspires anybody at the table to talk about before we move forward? We can just take a moment to sit with it because it's big and it's not what we came here to talk about, but going around the room, that's what inspired me to talk about and to take a look at this conversation. And even if nothing is said in this moment, it's worth honoring that memory with it as a part of the healing process. Because we all need to face what we do to get to where we're going. If not, it takes away from our smile, it takes away from our cry, it takes away from our laughter. You know, all of these things are pride if we're not able to express.
You know, Monsees, it's been a huge part of my healing process to be able to talk about my past without, like I may still be judged. Some people out there still don't judge me. But being able to talk about my past without being concerned with whether I'm being judged or not. Like I did do those things, you know? I have lived through those things. But those things are also what make me me.
Exactly.
You know, it's not just it's not just the education. You know, I've earned a master's degree. Okay, great. You know, lots of people do. I have raised 8 children and am a grandmother, a really good grandmother. You know, okay, great. Lots of people are. Not everybody can talk about the things that I also talk about, like what I call the dead world. Got that from a friend of mine. It hit me. I like it, you know, because it describes it. But being able to accept myself, all the pieces of me, and love on me for that little girl that was told to shut up, sit down, don't cry, or I'll give you something to cry about. The one who was made to cry anyway, you know, like loving on those parts of me, accepting those parts of me, integrating all of those parts into me, has probably been the biggest piece of my healing to this point. And it enables me to work so effectively with my community and the people that I work with, where I work. Not only my colleagues, my coworkers, you know, because I'm very open about who I am and where I've been and why I got this job.
Right.
Because actually it was a requirement that I be formally
Wow.
incarcerated, which blew my mind, like, who ever heard of that, right? But those things have helped me in this process. And like, I don't know, now I think I'm just rambling, but that's been a huge part of me healing, is being able to talk about it. And being able to accept those things as just fact. You can't change it, you know?
I
And I
agree.
don't know now if I would even change them,
I
because I
agree.
wouldn't know and I wouldn't be
Exactly.
who I am
Who you
today
are.
without
I agree.
Whew.
Definitely accepting all of you. I think that's a big part of healing yourself, you know, because you're not in denial. You know, like you said, you're not worried about what other people thinking of you. Because when you accept all of you, no matter what nobody say about whatever, you know who you are. And that's what the good and the bad. So I agree.
the shame, the guilt,
Mhm.
you know,
All of
might
that.
take a back seat. Like, yeah, okay, what else?
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
I agree.
And so, if I could just, oh, I'm sorry. Go
Well, I
ahead.
was just gonna say that in the same token too, like the good memories sometimes tend to take that backseat too. Because I think about that in the way of, you know, I had very traumatic things happening in my life early on. But there was also now as an adult and I reflect back in childhood, there were good moments. There were pictures and some of the memories tell that, right? There's laughter, there's good times, memory, you know, good things that you did with your relatives, you know. So those good memories, but it's why is it so easy to grasp
The bad.
to the back
Yes.
and hold, you know? And I think it's retraining your body to not, like you can release that. You don't have to hold that. It doesn't have to be the most powerful narrative, you know, shouting out loud. Like you get to silence that when you look at it, dig deep, you know, change it. A big part of my change, and when I knew, it's something you said too, here, that hit was like, I remember being in the padding in the back of the van after sentencing, going to Shackley. And I remember when the van opened, it was me and one of my co-defendants. And in my head, I said, well, here you go. You're gonna come out of here better than what you are going in. You're gonna be changed. I was sentenced to 13 years and 9 months. So essentially my whole 20, all that was gonna be gone. And, but I knew in that moment that, and I knew even before then, like you said, this wasn't my destiny. This wasn't what I was destined for. My greatness is way above this.
Mhm.
So how do I, in that moment, I knew that this was part of the journey, though this was what I had to embark upon in order to get to where I need to go. And I knew going in, I was gonna emerge out much different.
Yeah.
But what did that look like? Because I didn't know. You know, so I had to trust self, you know, do the things that were put forth in front of me to do, you know, jump through those hoops, even though I don't like to conform. I'm not a conformist. I'm oppositional. And so I fought hard with that, but I did what I needed to do because I understood that that's the necessary steps in order to get to where you're trying to go.
Right.
And so worked really hard to change some of those messages that I had to get on to. And then they resurface, which you know, that's a whole nother chapter. You know, it's a constant,
It is.
guidance, and a constant like, oh, we don't do that anymore. We don't, you know, I don't live like that. I don't have those. You do this.
Absolutely. So, you know, and I thank everybody for sharing. That was powerful. One question I got, so like, you know, when we're released back into society, just because we're released doesn't necessarily mean that we're healed from what brought us there. And so I wonder if we can kind of go around and just share some things that you feel could have maybe helped you heal when you were re-entering back into society, or whenever you've had any contact with the system. What are some things that you would have liked to, what are some areas you may have liked to maybe see help? Maybe some things that you would have maybe liked to see changed. And it's just, we can go around. Would you want to start?
Sure, I can start. So, the impact of coming out of incarceration. Well, so, actually remember the day I did get out, my two sisters picked me up. And, that felt good because I got to be able to be around my sisters, around my family, free. Again, like I said, with that positive energy, positive influence, the support system. So it felt really good to be able to have that as a start when I got out, because I thought that when I was going to get out, I was going to go to like the halfway house or whatever it is. But I didn't. And when I was in prison, I sat and I was really determined to get out and go to like this halfway house and change my life around. And I felt like I was a burden. Like I said, I felt like I was a burden to the family because I was so wild. Like it was just, I mentally was just not stable whatsoever. So, I had this conversation with a lot of people, and it's just like a vicious triangle really is what it is. If you have mental health issues or addiction issues, whether it's, any type of addiction or disorder that you may have, and then also the mental health portion of it, mental health, the addiction, and then pretty much just everything all together. So it's tough when you don't have that support system, and that, I mean, it's just huge, because if I not spoke with my sister and decided, okay, I'm gonna go be with my family, that's where I need to be, and have all that guilt and shame, like I don't want to do this, I don't want them. It was like almost like it's tough too, because I was being too hard on myself, almost like thinking, okay, if I mess up, then I was so worried about screwing something up, whether it was the smallest thing or not. And living with that guilt and that shame, the processing and having to talk to them about it was a struggle for me, but I did. And because I had all the support while I was in prison, treatment, and then, starting to talk to my family, I realized that I had to be open about all that guilt in order for me to even heal, because they are going to judge us. Everybody's going to judge us. Anyway, I still get judged all the time. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. You can judge me all you want. As long as I know I'm taking care of my mental health, I'm surrounding myself with positive people and have a good support system. And, I'm taking care of my mental health, my addiction, then I have no worries. It's me that I have to worry about. And when people do, kind of get that, like, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure if she's going to do this, I'm not sure what she's doing, or is she, judging, like, is she going to relapse, or is she going to end up back in prison, or is she going to leave her kids, or whatever it is. Because that's also one thing that I had to live with, was so much guilt and shame, and most of it was because of what I did to my kids. Yeah. My daughter missed a lot of her years, and I worked a lot. I had a daughter at a young age. I worked a lot. My mom was very vulnerable, so it was tough. Like, I had all these kids, I had a full-time job, and then I was in a super abusive relationship. So it was like, I don't have any of that, what I had before, because I don't put myself in that situation. And I mean, that's just major coming out is, it was huge, but the main thing is, mainly the support system. You gotta find something that is going to, like for us, it's venting, speaking, processing, coping, being with others, working with kids. I love working with kids, and I didn't notice how much I liked that until I did it, because I knew that's what I was good at. And when I work with kids, or even, women, battered women, or, just anyone that I can help or give advice to is huge, major. And I think that's what really keeps going. One thing that's a little bit scary for me is that there are a lot of people that do go back in, or re-entry, a lot of people that go back in prison, and I think it's sad, but I don't know how I could actually explain or give somebody any advice other than, like, stay clean, don't use. If you're a drug addict, don't use. Try to find other things to do that'll keep you busy. Find support groups, or a good support system, family, friends, meetings, whatever it's gonna take for you to stay sober. Get in, see a mental health practitioner, whether you think you're okay or not. You may see yourself, like I tended to see myself go down a little bit, but I picked myself right back up, and my support team is major, it's major.
I agree.
Yeah, I think that's
the
really
support
important.
system is-
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was thinking about this morning too, is the fact that some people just don't have family support system.
Mhm, exactly.
Whether it's dysfunctional or not, whether it's, control or care coming from the support system. Some people just don't have that at all.
Exactly.
So creating a solid support system of what that looks like, even from before you are released,
Yeah.
is essential. Having like your team of people who I remember getting out, and I went to work release, and then went to got my apartment and stuff like that. And that was a whole nother, I'm telling you, I have a sock. I got a sock up for every situation. But I didn't know that Anoka County was not, I didn't know all that. So I worked off grounds for 2 years, went to work release, got an apartment, had 2 jobs, right? I got this landlord who was like, oh yeah, I'll rent to you. And then Anoka County says, oh, but you're gonna do ISR if you're living over here. And I said, no, I'm not, right? Because I walked all these things and done all these, that to me was like backwards. And so I couldn't wrap my head around, I'm not doing that. So I opted to go live in my mom's basement before I would complete the ISR program. Luckily, the landlord let me buy my way out of the lease and study use as a referral reference and all that. But there's things that you don't know. I didn't know this stuff. I was 18 when I went in, and I had an apartment, but I didn't, these are things I had to navigate and had to understand about counties, ISRs, and all that. But when I got to the parole officer that I did get to, and everybody's like, oh, you're gonna hate her, she's this, she's that. And I was like, well, let me find out for myself. Our first meeting, she sat down and she said, we're gonna be together longer than most marriages. We better learn to love each other. And I said, what? You're really gonna do that. So we had a great working relationship until she retired, and then I went on to somebody else. But just being straight up about what the expectations are. This is what'll get you in trouble. This is what won't. You know what I mean? And you get to decide what that looks like. You get to decide. I think my one time was I got pulled over. I had a money car. Whoa. And I get ticket after ticket after ticket. Well, you got 24 hours to report. She's in contact with police. And so I went in for my meeting. She's like, we went through the whole thing. And she's like, everything's good. I'm like, yep. And she said, anything else? I'm like, nope. You sure there's nothing else? I'm like, nope. And she said, tell me about this pullover. And I was like, oh, man. So that was her way of letting me know, like, those things you have to tell me. Those things, so it's a communication piece. but that support system is definitely first and foremost, the most, setting yourself up for success is to have a support system. And the families need to understand, I'm sorry, y'all, but like the families need to understand that there needs to be some type of system prior to even coming out where they're understanding, they only get it from their perspective, we're getting it from ours as incarcerated. And so they're happy, they want to support, it could look overbearing, it could feel like I don't know what to do, it could be all these things, but there needs to be some type of support group that allows for that exchange to be healthy, for that relationship building to be healthy upon release. What does supporting you look like? Because it could very easily become enabling, it could very easily become, I'm trying to control and tell you, and then it reverts back to this, vicious cycle of whatever, so just having a clear understanding of what, what's the mission.
Are you talking about a support group outside of the
I'm
family?
talking about set that up within the walls of, you know what?
Before you get out.
You might need some family counselor within the walls of,
Right.
Shakopee.
They're actually so much better. I mean, well, I was incarcerated up until January 2020, but from the sounds of it back then compared to now, their treatment program I thought was awesome. The treatment, they really get into that, and they have their long-term program there, short-term. I think they do a little bit better
It's a
of a
year,
job
like,
at
you
like
gotta-
mental
you gotta-
health, like evals.
But when you go
But-
in young, when you go into prison young,
They
you have no life skills. Like at
Exactly.
18, you don't know what the heck you're doing. So
Right.
they don't teach you how to balance a checkbook, how to run a
Exactly.
bank account,
Mhm.
how to grocery shop. I didn't even know how to grocery shop when I got out. I didn't know how to work a DVD player. Like, they had pagers when I went to prison. So they don't teach you basic life skills. Like, I had to learn that all on my own the hard way. Like how to finance money, like, yeah, treatment's good, yeah, dealing with trauma and all that's good, but when you go in that young and you get out like 12 years later, you're still
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
back here,
Yeah.
and society keeps on going. And like you were saying, when you're not the same person when you get out, and some family will try to like communicate with you the same way before you went in, but you're not the same person. So it's like your family has to get to know you all over again, especially when you do so much time.
Well, my question is like, because I came across a lot of people that has been locked up or whatever, but they literally have no family when they come out. So what does that support system come from for those that have nobody? When they come out, like literally, they have no one.
Your fellow sisters that you
Yeah.
built a relationship with that is against parole, rules to even,
Be with them.
be with. Once you're released,
That's true.
So that's a catch-22 in itself. Like,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, what is it? Some people,
Yeah.
they curate through the different faith systems and through the different programs that come through there, but
So mental illness is a huge part, right?
Exactly.
So if you have no support system and you got this mental illness going, it's just easier to just fall back
Mhm.
into where you come from. So it's like when you get out and you have these issues, like who is there to help guide you, and you know what I mean, and
You
to
would
help
help
keep
your mental
you
health when you were young, maybe when you went to one person,
exactly
Nobody knows the symptoms, or, you just think you're supposed to feel like that.
right. Yeah,
Mad all the time, or,
yeah,
it's
Mhm.
Yeah.
not how you should be.
I'm grateful that the changes that have taken place surrounding mental health in the past maybe decade or two, because when I was, I'm probably a lot older than most of y'all, when I was going through my little escapades, I probably should have been removed from my parents' home.
mhm,
But whenever I would come, I would get picked up and be taken to juvenile center, I was the dad.
mhm,
Like nobody ever
right.
did any kind of investigation into my parents.
Like, why am I
It was
this
just-
way? Why
yeah,
am I
just
acting-
lock me up
Right.
because I'm a bad kid,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So I'm really, really thankful that things have changed. Not so much child protection hasn't changed. They're just thoroughly riddled with systemic and institutional racism, but the fact that mental health is being taken seriously, that children who act up
Mhm.
are like most of the times nowadays are referred to someone that they can talk to, that they can get some help before they end up like I did,
Mhm.
you know?
But you're talking about the adult and.
True that. And, you know, in fact, I was in a couple
Yeah.
of foster homes that the foster parents were very, very wise people that tried to get me to open up, you know, to talk about what went on while I was at home. And yes, it felt, well, I was afraid for one thing, because I knew my parents would seriously hurt me
Mhm.
if they were exposed, you know? But it's that paradox of how you're, like, you think you're being disloyal,
I was just about to say that.
you know? And never that, like, no, never that,
Mhm.
right? So nowadays, though, things are changing a little bit. You know, children are being taught, like, you know, talk about it. You can't talk to your parents if you don't have an adult in your life, you know, find somebody at school, find somebody and talk about it, you know? Everybody, like, there's a piece in what everybody has said, you know? I didn't know anything about how to live. Nothing. When I got out of Indiana State Reform School, I had to have somewhere to go for 24 hours. That's all they required. And then I was on my own. I picked my mother's house, which was a horrible place to be. And then I was in the wind. Like 24 hours later, I was gone. But the only place I knew to go was back to the streets,
Exactly.
back to my people,
Yeah.
you know? I didn't have a job, didn't know how to get one, couldn't get one, didn't have anything. So I fell back into that criminal
Yeah.
lifestyle because that's how I fed myself.
Exactly.
That's how I paid for a roof over my head. That's how I took care of myself, right? So things need to be put in place before we come out, like life skills.
Exactly.
You know, I didn't learn how to balance a checkbook till I was in my 40s. And by that time, like, we were moving towards
The digital
like
age.
digital banking,
Mhm.
you know, like I still have a checkbook. I'm a
Yeah.
dinosaur, right?
Yeah.
I haven't written one in a long time, but like, I got in a lot of trouble in the beginning because I would always I almost went to prison for making mistakes. They swore up and down I was doing this intentionally, but I wasn't. I just didn't know how to calculate what was there and what I had left to spend. You
So
know,
life skills should definitely
So,
be required when you
life
get out of
skills
prison.
and absolutely.
Yeah.
Some mental health, a
Yes.
place to talk about, someone that can help you work through, like, your family dynamics, like those false messages that we get taught about ourselves.
Yeah.
Somebody that can help you.
But you have to unlearn that.
Get some of that, get at least a partial understanding of it so that when you come out, you can continue the work,
Exactly.
you know?
Absolutely.
But I agree.
Grateful the work would be if we could prevent the going in,
Yeah,
right? With
Yeah.
those same tools and those same life skills and those same, you know what I mean?
yeah, well, that's why I'm
Yeah.
thankful that mental health is changing, that the field is, it's not so much a stigma attached to it anymore. You know, I've got a niece, she lives in North Carolina, she's a marriage and family therapist, and she is always in every social network platform talking to Black folks. Like, it's not, there's nothing wrong with you.
Yeah.
You know, you can't grow up in this country and be Black without having all kinds of garbage, right?
Mhm.
Talk to somebody, get you some therapy. Like, and I'm thankful that is happening nowadays because it's accessible for us,
Mhm.
you know, because we carry wounds. Yeah, we carry the good stuff. Some, I don't have much. I struggle to find those happy memories from when I was a child. I
Yeah.
struggle, man.
Yeah.
But I just lost my train of thought. What did I say?
It's okay.
It's
It's
okay,
okay.
right,
It's
but it's not
okay.
really important.
You reliving what you
Yeah,
talking about.
and
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Big one up.
Right, that's what it was.
and so wow, yeah, y'all are healing me right now. So some of the things I got were financial literacy, life skills,
Yeah.
treatment, mental health.
Mental health.
Sylvia,
Oh, we need to change.
No.
I'm
the
still in the
songs,
healing
too.
process.
yeah,
Cause when I was 7 years old, my dad got murdered and I seen it happen, so now I'm a super story, so I'm still healing today. This was a big step for me, and this is something that I wanna do, and I did community service stuff, for a while, and
mhm,
just something that I didn't plan, you know what I'm saying, God, I'm gonna say that, He reached out to me, but I'm still healing, cause like, in 2018, I got drugged by a Hashem, I already had 94 going west.
Mhm.
And I got operated at Bell Street exit, cause he fell asleep at the wheel and made my car turned around and then it just made a complete stop sideways. And I looked out my window, I could see the pier duct coming, and I was like, wow, cause I crossed myself and I know God is good and God is real, cause it felt like my car and the semi got pulled apart.
Mm.
That's how strong it was, and I was like, I couldn't believe it, but it hit me, dragged me some more, spun me out, and I said, oh, and I took off, because I could see the accident, because I didn't have license,
Yeah.
no insurance, I was riding dirty, and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not going back on some stupid shit, I should be better doing.
Mhm.
So, and I thank God in that same year, I ordered these diet pills, which I flatlined, because my insides were melting.
Mm.
So I got diabetes from that, another like flatline, and I'm glad I'm here to tell my story, and I never thought that would happen, because I mean, I went through some trauma since I was a child and raised to be tough and hard and
Right.
tomboy, and I could do it better,
Right.
because I'm a girl and I know I'm strong,
Mm.
I'm a leader, I'm gonna be, and I'm glad that I was brought up like that and I go through what I did. It hurt, I cried so many times, and my addiction, it was being loyal, I'm still a Garcia, because that's what I told my dad before he died. I'm gonna always be a Garcia, to this day, I am a Garcia, so I'm keeping my promise. Before my mom died, I said, you're gonna see me graduate with a high school diploma. I did, in prison, took me 4 years to get my diploma, but school once.
If that ever seems like it's not working, or if you develop an infection.
I didn't think I would do or do would, but
Like this.
when I went to prison, I was like, I'm gonna take advantage of the knowledge.
Yeah.
Working out, my baby dad tried to get child support from me. I was like, I'm making 25 cents an hour. And they told me, check the papers. I go, why? I'm not emotionally, financially, and that's all I can do for my kids, but I strive for them. They kept me above water,
Right.
because you gotta lead by example, and that's what I'm doing. And taking one day, one step at a time, because this was a big step,
Yeah.
even to reach out to tell anybody
Well,
about
good
it,
for you.
and people, you guys are, it will make you sound cry because you guys are listening to me
Yeah.
and not being heard.
Mhm.
I
absolutely,
feel
that
good because I
matters,
know
yeah.
I'm healing,
Yeah.
right.
and I know I'm healing, and I'm a dinosaur, I'm a Stegosaurus. It came
I'm
out,
glad you're here.
Reborn.
I know that's right.
Yes,
Reborn again.
and I got a purpose in this life, and this is my life to tell my story, and
Mhm.
for others to not make that one little mistake of choice that, I mean, it's a
Yeah.
life, and that's only life,
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, and I'm glad that I'm alive to say this today to everybody.
I don't know if you wrote it down, but one that I was thinking of that's really huge is when you get out of prison, you guys remember like how anxious you kind of were at the
Mhm.
same time of being
Can't go
happy.
to sleep.
Yeah.
That you're happy, but then you're kind of worried
Yeah.
at the same time, and you're like, how's this gonna play out? I tended to be a lot more comfortable, a lot more determined than what I actually thought. But like again, that's because of my mental health. Wasn't using, I had a positive support system in treatment, and it was just like it was like feeding me with wanting to give back to the community more, or even be able to just speak up and tell my story. But I think a lot of it is keeping busy is huge. Finding what your real interests are, other than just learning. I think that's huge when it comes to life skills, because like you said, some of that stuff, they don't teach you that. They're more focused on other things. And it's prison, it's prison. Like in the penitentiary, they don't care whether if it's a woman's or a men's prison, like they don't play. And that's why you're there, because they want to prove a point. But just finding those things that you like to do other than get high or do whatever your choice of crime was. But that I know it seems to be huge for me. Like I've been starting to think about doing because it's gotten tough for me. I recently had a miscarriage, so it's been kind of really, really tough for me. But I've been thinking of okay, how can I stay busy? How can I be productive when I do have the kids or when I don't have the kids? When I have time for myself other than going to play E-tabs or bingo or whatever it is. I think about, okay, maybe do a collage or go to the JT's football games, my son's football games, or, whatever it is, taking the kids to go do something or spending time with my man, them mean a lot to me. And sometimes I just have to find things to do to keep me busy. Sports are huge. I don't know if any of you guys like sports, but I love sports. So I try to get together, get a small group of just cool friends, friends that that aren't gonna be sitting there getting high or what I mean.
Yeah.
Watch a football game, play dominoes, do something, play a card game, whatever it is. That's definitely major too, because like I said, we also face the struggles, and it's like when you get to that wall and you're like, oh God, here I am. Because that's where it is. That's where it's going to happen. It's either you take the right turn or you take the left turn.
Absolutely.
I want to acknowledge
The
the
wrong.
chat so we can keep people entertained and make sure that they're also heard. Larissa writes in, or how about when you come out of incarceration, the people that family or friends, are not healthy relationships.
Exactly.
They're still stuck in their sin patterns.
Right.
That's all that you have.
Yeah. And
That's what I was saying, like, where's that support system for those people that don't have that when they come
Getting
home?
something set up before you
But
hit the
how?
street.
Yep.
If there is no one, like,
Because it starts with, you gotta change your
you
mind.
gotta want to be able to change.
Because what I'm listening to from you, I'm thinking right now, like, that would have been so lame to me. That was square stuff.
Yeah.
And I would not have been caught dead doing any of that when I came out. I still had this street reputation that I had to uphold, So it does, it takes a complete mind shift while you're in
yeah,
to decide that I'm tired of being on this merry-go-round.
right,
That, like Tierra said in the beginning, I knew there was so much more to me.
right,
But how did I find it though? How did I go about putting the pieces together that would get me away from that and make me feel whole and like I was valuable?
right.
That was the process that I needed. And I found it after being in jail over and over and over and over, losing my kids and finally having to go to treatment. That's where I found it. And I know a lot of people do, and I know a lot of people go to treatment and blow it off and couldn't care less and go right back out and relapse. Thank God that I was in a place mentally and emotionally and spiritually at the time that, God, if they'd have told me to stand on my head in the corner and bark like a dog, if that meant my life would change, I would have did it. Like for real, that's how desperate and broken I was. So getting your mind right, whatever that may take, getting your mind right. Because
keeping it right.
If I went through that, if I'd have gone through that process younger, when they'd have released me for them 24 hours, I would have stayed at my mother's house because I would have been focusing on her. I'd have been focusing on me. I'd have been going out finding the resources that I needed.
Right.
And back then, like, we didn't have no computers, we didn't even have beepers, okay, I'm talking about 1978, y'all.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
it was either the newspaper, the phone book, you know? But I mean, I was a resourceful chick. I found whatever else I always needed. I managed to find a way to get that.
Right.
So if
So like you said, you
something,
could switch your
if
mind.
I had been
train
in
of
that
thought.
place then,
Mhm.
yes, you know, but I
But-
guess that wasn't what was
And
meant,
not only
you
that,
know?
there's just so many different programs out there for those. Even just a treatment program, that alone, a treatment program alone, my personal opinion is major, because if you don't have a good support system, you need to be sober. And staying sober is huge when it comes to your mental, or not having a good support
Well,
team.
without a support system, you're not staying clean.
Exactly.
Not at
Here's
all.
what's just not been
Here's
happening.
what I know too, is that
That is true, that is true.
your loved
Sometimes.
ones, they may wanna see you doing well, may or may not, right? Because they may be stuck in a cycle.
Yeah.
So what it is that they're gonna challenge to see if you're real with what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
hard to
Even if
get
you're
into
walking
a
the good
treatment
walk, they're still
facility
gonna
these
challenge
days.
that.
They're so, it's not.
Are you gonna exclude me, or, sometimes you have to say, hey, I can't rock with you, I love you,
Yeah.
but I can't
Right.
rock with you.
Yeah. You're
Because
absolutely
we're
right.
not aligning in what we're on right now,
Mhm.
right? And that's a hard thing to do.
It
It's
is,
a hard thing to do, especially when you love someone to the core,
Mm.
but it's.
but it is
we're not
necessary.
aligned.
You're
If
right.
we cross paths or come back together, or we could be
Mhm.
back to, whatever, that means that you walk the walk and change as well, because I know what I used to do, but I don't do that anymore.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
unless you're willing to abandon what it was that bonded us then,
Exactly.
I can't rock with you. I can still love you, but I don't have to rock with you.
Yeah.
Another thing too, how I felt when I did, because remember I was telling you, I just kept on repeating the same mistakes over and over, the using, the
Yeah.
mental health. I didn't think my sisters were gonna accept me. Like, I didn't think they were gonna be as loving and caring as they were, because I kept saying, I'm gonna stop, I'm gonna change, I'm gonna do this, it's gonna be different. And, they still kind of hold that nervousness where they're like, okay, well, it's Selena.
They
She
want to
could
believe,
fall
but they're
back.
not quite sure.
Right, she could fall back, and that's with anybody. But I didn't want to, even with the treatment when I was in there, actually, which was a good thing. When I was in prison, prior to getting out, they pretty much forced me to call my family and do something that I didn't want to do, which is it was a good thing, of course. But that doesn't, like you said, that doesn't always work. It doesn't always work, because for me to have felt like that, one of them had to have said something or did something in order for me to feel that way. Like, that goes back to like what you guys were talking about in the core beliefs. Oh, you're gonna be just like mom, or you're gonna do it again, or the things that they would do to us.
Yeah,
They would
labeled
reach
and
us.
put into a box and not allowed to grow out of it.
Exactly.
Powerful again, man. Being that everybody here, and thank you guys for being so open. Sylvia, somebody named Miss Queen dropped her number in the chat for you.
Oh.
So-
Gucci.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So we're gonna get that. We'll get that to her. But so my next question is, being that everybody here has lived experience in some way, shape, or form, and some of us, I heard some of us talk about how we hope and had desires to do like youth development with kids, but there's also these barriers that we have. So I wonder, my question is, what would you say to the younger version, that little girl or that little boy of your own self? What would you actually say to them now, knowing what you know now, to that younger version of yourself? Because hold on.
I know, here comes the tears, right? Oh my goodness. Like, why he
Because-
asked that?
And I asked for a reason, because I also have a son that, but I'm also dealing with parental alienation. I'm not able to see him when I want to, record all that. But I'm able to do youth development though. And and these kids coincidentally are the same age as my son. And so when I see these kids, not only do I see myself, but I see my son. And so this is a deep question. And, if you don't feel comfortable answering it, that's fine too. And, but I wonder, what would we say to that younger version of ourselves, knowing that we have the lived experience we have right now? What would your message be to the younger kids who think that the path we took is cool? What would you say to them if you had the
I would tell
opportunity?
my younger self to love self. Love yourself. Everyone makes mistakes.
Mhm.
You are not your mistake. And believe in yourself. Because when you love and believe in yourself, can't nobody talk you into doing shit. You ain't forced into doing shit. You know what I'm saying? Because you are so comfortable within yourself. So that's what I would tell my younger self, because I had that issue. I had to learn to love myself. It took some time, but I would definitely say that. Love yourself.
Thank
I'd say, you are deserving of all the things.
Yeah.
And that includes love, care, you're smart, beautiful, wise, and deserving.
Yeah.
All that.
you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What I would tell my younger self. Oh my gosh. That you are lovable.
Yeah.
I wasn't loved, but I was lovable. I would tell my younger self that you are just as smart as you want to be, girl. You can be anything you want to be. Don't listen to those telling you that you ain't ish, you never been ish, they never gonna be ish. Don't listen to that. Seek out what your heart, what your gut is telling you. Because I knew every criminal act I ever committed, I knew. I knew I was wrong. I knew that wasn't the right thing to do, I would tell myself, don't set yourself up for the shame and the guilt and the condemnation that you're gonna carry around inside yourself. Just be happy with who you are, no matter what anybody tells you. Check the record, just check the evidence, You're smart, you get grade A or straight A's and you don't even study. You skip school for weeks at a time and take a test and ace it.
Yeah.
Like, don't believe those lies that people are telling you. Love yourself and be who you want to be. That's what I would tell my young self.
Go ahead.
Me, I think that, like Montes was saying, like, you have this certain image of the people that you hang around with. I think I would say that to watch your friends. People are not who they say they are. If it comes down to you or them, they're always going to choose themselves. Well, I didn't, but different. But and just that the things that all the traumas and everything that most women go through. I was locked up with, and it's amazing how many women were sexually molested, raped, all that stuff. When you're young, you don't think that anybody can relate to you about stuff like that. But then you get to prison and you know, everybody in your whole circle is, you know, telling what their stepdad did to them, or, you know, so stuff like that, like, I would just say, like, you're not the only one going through that type of trauma, and like, I teach my kids to watch out for their friends, and if I had to do all that prison time just so my kids can not go through the same path that I went through, then I would do it again. But that's what I would tell my younger self, just, you're not alone, and, you know, you don't always have to be strong. Teaching your family, to be strong.
Yeah.
You know, don't tell family business, or,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's what I would say.
Well, I would tell myself, I'm sorry that you had to go to, like, as a child, up and to see what I did, as a young child, and I don't wish that on nobody, because who wants to see the dad get murdered? And then to have to grow up to be strong, no feelings, no emotions, you know, and take care of my brothers and sisters, even the older ones, I still took care of them. I was the black sheep. I was the one who, okay, yo, I'll draw first blood or whatever, it don't matter, but you just kick back in. But it wasn't, I mean, it was messed up, but I don't regret things that I've done and the choices I made to go to prison, made me go to prison. I think I made a good choice because my loyalty, being the woman who I am, she said no weapons, okay, no weapons, so I made the choice of taking her weapon, she was cutting some weed up with scissors. I made that choice to take them scissors out of her hand and shank her up 86 times. You know, I tried to kill her, left her dead, strangled her, whatever, but that was my choice, and I knew my consequence after that. You know, but it was my life or hers. And I see my dad get murdered by his best friend. I'd be damned if I'm gonna go out like that. Because we were supposed to be breaking bread, but you wanna come try to murder me with some shit, and she was a big girl, 6 foot, you know, and I'm gonna go 5-footer. And I had to knock her back on her chair and just went to town because my life or hers. And my choice was to do that. And the ones paying for it are my kids today. Now I'm a great grandma, and I'm glad I'm here to say this, because they're gonna know about me. Because I'm in my 3rd phase of my life, I wanna get old and die gracefully, and my grandkids and great grandkids, great-great-grandkids know who I was,
Right.
or what I was. Yeah, but I'm still healing, but I'm getting there. I'm better about myself every day.
Facts.
Selena, what would you tell yourself?
What would I tell myself? Well, I struggle a lot with patience. I'm very impatient. I'm very active, so like that's pretty difficult. Put the brakes on it, slow it down. Like we were talking about, if you don't have that support system, that's super hard. Or then again, falling into the feeling like you're a burden to your family, or you're scared you're gonna make that same mistake. Keep positive, be patient, have serenity in your life, and just pretty much it's mainly the patience that I struggled with, and the guilt and shame. Because that guilt and shame, you're gonna get out, and yeah, there's gonna, whether you run into somebody getting high in the corner, or you go to a halfway house and you're surrounded by people that are just negative, or whatever the case may be, wherever you go, you're gonna fall into something like that. And I noticed that my biggest triggers were not being patient with myself. I really need to be patient, and to also, overcome and process that guilt and that shame. Relive it. If you have to relive what you go through when you get out of prison, like, okay, you want to go back to prison and keep doing what you're doing, because I tend to recap that in my mind, like think about that a lot. Like, I don't want to go back to prison. I don't want to be there. I don't want to leave my kids. I want to be with my family. And there's gonna be them things that pop up, and when stuff like that happens, I just take myself back. I take a step back, whether being patient, sitting in my room for an hour, leaving the kids for an hour so I can get my own little peace of mind, or calling a friend, or a relative. So just patience, and then, that guilt and shame, that guilt and shame, like, when you feel the urge to want to do something, find something that you like to do. That's gonna make it better.
Yeah, when I got released from prison, I did 6 years and then I went right back in 3 months. Because up until not too long ago, I wasn't institutionalized. I got set that environment because that was my world. Out here, I didn't want to visit to my mom because I was hurt to see her leave. And I didn't want her to her see me or either. And it took a lot from me, but at the same time, that structure, and I had like every day, same thing all the time, like, and you get used to that same lifestyle.
Routine.
Yeah, the same routine.
Mhm.
Make sure you're ready and everything. It's like, to this day, I still do that. And it's crazy, but sometimes I think I got OCD, but just to you can tell who's been in prison.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Thank you again. I can go
Yeah.
if that's what's on your mind, because I see him giving me that look like. So no, what would I tell my younger self? I would probably, wow, I got shot in the head when I was like 17. And I didn't at that point in my life, I was already in a whirlwind. Like I didn't like, you know what I'm saying? Like I thought I knew everything, obviously. But I was knee deep in gangbang, but it didn't really seem like a gang. It just seemed like family, friends, like the people that I grew up around, they had my back, I had their back. Like you may walk with a limp, you got a skin disorder, but we all, you fat, I'm skinny, we weird, like he weird, like but we're all just one. And when I think about it, I was vulnerable. We had fun, we laughed, we were vulnerable, but it was the blind leading the blind. And so I would have maybe, I used to say like, if I had a father, it would have been different. But getting older, coming to know how my father was at that time, that was maybe God doing me a favor by not having him in my life, because he wouldn't have been any type of influence. But as you said, Cynthia, I knew what I was doing. I knew what was right and what was wrong. And, leaving the house by like probably 11 o'clock, I've already committed like 2-3 misdemeanors just walking to the store, So I would probably tell my younger self, trust your instinct. And because I knew that I was destined, and this is no disrespect or shade to any of the people that I hung around all day, but I knew I was better than what I was doing.
Yeah.
I knew I had a lot more to offer than what I was putting out.
Right.
But in certain circles, I wrote a book, and the chapter in the book is called, one of the chapters is the circle of limitation. And it's basically how you have like a circle of people who limit you, that only feel comfortable with you if you're doing less or equal to what they're doing. But then the minute you decide to, progress and do more, they get mad or they try to pull you down. And after operating in that circle for so long, you think that this is the world, because this is your little subculture of where you feel safe, and you like, well, the whole world is like this, but it's like, no, it's really not. And so just to trust like many of you said, your own instincts and believe in yourself. And sometimes it just takes one person
Yeah.
to just say, I believe, whether it's a family member, a kid,
That is so true.
a peer, or sometimes it could be a complete stranger.
Yeah.
And when someone, we're so conditioned to believe the negative, and it's hard to accept the positive, because I, as an adolescent, I always focused on my imperfections and never like what my strengths were, and that led me to poor choices in relationships, poor choices in friendship. I didn't feel like I deserved
Yes.
a good quality of life, good, a good relationship or any of that, because, you look for in other people what you see in yourself. So I'm like, I want to see the most carnal, lowest part of who a person is, because that's what I related to. And it's where I felt comfortable. But it was also because I didn't feel like I deserved better.
Mm.
And so I would say just believe in yourself and trust your leadership. Every circle I was in, whether it was gang, anything, I was in a leadership position. And to just trust the process also. Trust the process, and a part of the process is just believing in yourself, believing that you're destined. You weren't made for, to be here. God didn't make any junk. He created each one of us with a purpose, as corny as it may sound. People used to say that to me, and I was like, whatever, past that, man. But now, I believe that, and I try to walk in my purpose, and I try to instill that in my kids. And like she said, if I talk to my kids and I tell them, I've been through the penitentiary, so day, night, so that you don't have to deal with it.
Exactly.
And so don't worry about that. If you're curious about that life, ask me. And I'm an open book, but don't let your curiosity lead you to there. And so, that's why I don't want to answer it.
So what about
Before I go, I just want to, say, since this is an educating and empowering platform, I want to back it up to what some folks have already touched on, like the gang life and that subculture of living. It's not like, to the people that don't have those experiences, it's not like you see on TV.
right?
Some people are born into it, and some people are highly saturated by their environment to be conditioned that a gang member is what you should be. I remember being 9 years old and thinking everybody was a gang, because that was my world. When my father ran with his friends, and then my brother came up, and then all of my cousins, and then areas that we lived in, everybody was in a gang. And so in my conditioning, that's how I saw the world. And it would be weird to me if somebody wasn't in a gang, even in growing up. And so that's not always a choice for people. And it's not always what you see on TV. Nobody wakes up thinking, I'm going to be a child who kills, or I'm going to be, a teenager who is involved with this. Drug use and violence has been in their homes and been surrounded in their homes. For me, domestic violence was an everyday thing in my household. Not only that, my parents' friends were all in domestic abuse relationships. And so when I start to see that, that's how problems get solved. That's how people have relationships, you know, and it's not that I didn't know or want to separate myself from that. It's when I don't have any other problem solving skills or capabilities, this is what my default setting is set to, you know, and so to educate people, it's not always a choice that happens when we become justice impacted or justice involved. For me, going back to my younger self, I remember when I was really young, I was inquisitive, I was curious, I always wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to figure things out. And before people shut me up, I asked, what is that? How does this work? You know, and then there came a time when I learned by observation. I was silent in seeking out information. And so when I would go back to my younger self, I would tell myself, you're going to learn some things you don't understand. And I feel like my younger self would ask back, what is that? Yeah, and I would say, for example, you're going to learn what love is from experiencing what love isn't. And then I would say, how? And then, like in true fashion, I wouldn't want to ruin the story, so I would say, you'll find out, and disappear, because I don't know what else to do. I couldn't tell myself, my younger self, something that would alter the course, because I truly believe that my path is my path for a reason.
Yeah.
And as I'm sitting in a better understanding of love, of care, of support, of purpose, I see the world different, you know? And there was a part of me that regretted my old lifestyle, you know, and I struggled with that for a little bit. I can't believe I wasted my time. I can't believe I gave all of my energy and effort. You know, you talked about leadership. I can't believe I spent all of my skills and talents doing that when I could have advanced my family in a different direction. But I didn't know any better. You know what I mean? And that's where the kindness and the forgiveness to myself has to come into play. Because that wasn't, you know, what I should have been wrapped up in for so long, for 20 years, you know, 20 plus years, whatever it was. But I was. And it gave me information that I can use today, that I do use today, with all of my involvements within my personal life and within my professional life, you know. So I couldn't change my course, you know, because otherwise I wouldn't be who I am today. And who else would I be? I mean, there's a million narratives, you know. I could be dead, I could be a doctor, you know, and everything in between, whatever the outcome is. But my outcome right now is sitting around the table with everybody today, relating to each other in a way that doesn't always have to be explained. Sometimes it's a look. I can look at Amy, and I remember when I was 14, we were hanging out, and I can remember Silky way back in the day, you know, and I remember you when you were young, just a kid. I know these people on this panel, you know what I mean? We share history and time, and our paths crossed, and then, and, you know, just like they're crossing now. But rather than using all of those, you know, moments of beating myself up, you know, in the world that we come from, we often use aiding and assisting other people. And it's how we can help people, and it's how we can be there for people. And the way that I was able to aid and assist you back in 1995 is a lot different than it is now in 2022. But in the natural progression of life, I'm not supposed to be able to aid and assist you like when I was 14. You know what I mean? My duty is to grow, to absorb the wisdom, to become something that can help somebody else. You know, and so now, education, support, advocacy, resources, those are the ways that I can aid and assist you now. It's not with my kids, you know. I want to say any physical attributes about me for life or death situation. You know what I mean? Because just like you know, everything else, you know, just like my struggles, they don't go away, right? Neither does my ability to fight. You know what I mean? That thing is staying. We're not letting that thing come out. So what I've learned over my journey, and a lot of people touched on it today too, is that the moment that I was able to embrace myself for my struggles in equal amount to my strengths, then I realized that if I denied any one of those about me, then I would be denying a piece of myself. And denying pieces of myself kept me in mental slavery, emotional slavery. And now that I can say, this is what I'm good at, also this is what I'm not good at, I can use that as a guide to navigate all of my future steps. You know what I mean? So like, I no longer see my struggles or the things that I'm not good at as a weakness. And that's the condition that I was conditioned to believe. If I had any weaknesses, I had no value.
Yeah.
Now, the truth is, you know what? I'm not good around this. Because if I'm around this, that's one of my triggers. I might snap back, you know?
Right.
And you know what? I'm going to use this to say, I don't have to be in that environment. To set a healthy boundary for myself, to be able to say, you know what? I am somebody. And, you know, whenever you start a sentence with I am, something powerful should come after that because it's going to be true. I am good enough, empowers you to believe you are good enough.
That's right.
I am not good enough, puts you back into that negative seat of thinking, and it's hard to overcome anything after
Uh,
Definitely.
I know, that's powerful.
That's huge when it comes to like, because you're gonna hear it. You're gonna hear it when you get out, like, oh, she's gonna get high again, or she's gonna do this, or he's gonna do that. You know, whatever it is, that it tails us, you know, even further down the line, you know, way down the line, like Moses was saying earlier, there's things that just tail them, you know, it pops up, it happens. I can't remember where I was going with that, but yeah,
okay,
it was a good one. I'm like, no, it's a good one.
So the last section is on redemption, which is something that a lot of justice involved individuals, a lot of us feel after we've paid our debt to society that we should be redeemed. The definition of redemption is defined as an act of correcting a past wrong. An example of redemption is someone working hard for new clients to improve his reputation from sin. It's basically righting the wrongs and almost being made whole again. And I'll start again with me. I had a strange belief that once I was out, that was it. Like I did my time, I'm free. But I was forced to relive what I did, and I was judged and punished, repunished for what I did, for what I've served my time for. And I was viewed like an animal, like a slave. And I can just remember having those feelings of like, man, like I did my time. Like I didn't break out of jail. Y'all deemed me okay to be out here. So now I'm out here.
Are you gonna give me credit?
And it just, I really can remember like so many people were trying to make me feel like I was in an orange jumpsuit with shackles hanging off my feet. And right, and
So how do you redeem yourself if the life was lost?
so and that's a good question. For me, I would say as long as you've made amends with your creator and you've actually, because you can't you can't change. Like I told y'all in the beginning, we can't change what happened. What happened has already happened. The only thing we can really do is make things right with our creator, whoever that may be, to whoever, you know, and to try to use your life as an instrument or as a tool to prevent anything like that from happening again.
Yeah.
So how do you use your knowledge when the justice system won't let you because of the violence of your felony? You know
So
what I mean?
that's a good question.
That's true.
That's a good question. And I mean,
That's
there's,
a huge part of reentry.
yeah,
too.
yeah. And
Huge part of it.
we're gonna get into that.
What we have to do is not waver or give up, because they're gonna tell us no. They've always told us no. But one thing that is true is that they need us. The systems that they have in place that have tried to fix marginalized people in communities that are impacted by violence, poverty, and miseducation and poor education systems, the same systems that create those school to prison pipelines, the only thing that they haven't tried is to employ the people that are impacted by those circumstances, because they're ignoring possible solutions. They're ignoring any resolutions that could come out of that lived experience. And so what we have to stand on is that lived experience is a knowledge system. And we can't let anybody escape that thought, you know? And so out of all of the things that they tell us that we can't do, I'm looking at the things that I can do.
I'm a man.
And
That's major.
And I'm not gonna take no for an answer. If it is a no, those aren't my people, and that's not my community.
Yep.
Exactly.
If you can't help me, somebody else will.
So
But legally.
Type of deal.
no,
And if they
legally
can't,
not.
gotta
Can't.
okay, so
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
now
you
you can't be in a patient-facing role due to the DHS background studies, Minnesota statute 245C.
Right.
But now, there are some organizations that do not follow, that do not have to follow
That's
245C.
Yeah.
And there are some positions that do not require face-to-face patient interaction, but you can still impact those systems.
Yep.
Right now, I'm affected by that, lifetime ban from patient-facing roles. However, the organization that I work for found a way to let me in because they knew
Right.
that the knowledge system that I come with and the experience that I come with is a key to some of the solutions that are being formed.
Yeah.
Cynthia and I work hand in hand. I work for Hennepin Healthcare Research Institute. She's over at Hennepin Healthcare. I work in the health, homelessness, and criminal justice lab. You know, there's so many people that told me no. You know what I mean? And some of them hurt. Some of them I took L's, you know, deep in my soul, because I know I have more to offer the world. You know,
Yeah.
I know that there's something in me that's greater than what they're telling me I can or can't do. And so our job is to never give up on what my own value is, and to not lessen my value according to what they think of me. I have value, I have worth, I have purpose, and I'm gonna show you. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna do that through my tears, just like I'm gonna do that through my smiles. You know, I got rejected from some jobs that made me cry. I broke down.
Me
You
too.
know? Yeah, I broke down and cried.
Absolutely.
You know what? Yeah. And
But your calling is bigger than that.
Yes.
that's-
Right,
that's what
exactly.
I wasn't supposed to do.
Wasn't for you.
Exactly.
So now, you know, I did testify before the task force. They are trying to change some of the statute in 245C for the DHS background study, but we're not there yet. Wherever we get to is just a step to wherever we're going.
Yeah.
And so there are some things that are gonna be changing. It's not gonna be everything all at once, and it never is. You know, we're against a lot of opposition. We're against systemic racism. We're against harmful systems. You know, we're against people that don't understand that lived experience is a knowledge system and holds the answer to future solutions. That's what we're a part of right now. Your job, your job, your job, your job, your job is to see an opportunity in holding on to the faith that we belong to, wherever
Right.
here it is. So I just encourage you to find it here.
Yeah.
I encourage you to get involved. I encourage you to build a sense of community, to continue to find a sense of support. We're humans, we're complex people. We don't only have one need, we have multiple needs. You
Exactly.
have to find different outlets, plugins to recharge your battery for all of those things.
And if it's not there, create it.
That's true.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah. Because we, you know, when I came out, like I did a lot of speaking and a lot of policy work, and I wasn't even necessarily like looking for a job, but I just got offered a job. Like there, you can form your own nonprofit, you really, and take that belief and just hire who you want to hire.
Yeah.
We're the good thing is we're at a stage right now where we don't need to we don't need to beg them for
Exactly.
anything.
Right.
And but the knowledge that we have, especially here in Ramsey County, I can show you emails where they request people with lived experience.
And yeah, that's showing up more and
Yeah,
more. I'm
so-
seeing that so much more
Mhm.
as a qualification. You know, lived
Yeah.
experience can substitute for 2 years of experience or whatever.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing that so
Every
much
circle
more.
I see them, I push for it.
Yeah,
Your application doesn't have lived experience on it.
Right.
Why not?
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And then I break it down how important that is. You know, in any space, any volunteer, I volunteer heavy. You know, board of director positions, advisory board positions, ambassador positions.
I got
Too
a
busy.
question in the chat too after that.
Too busy, but I didn't get here alone. And I built a sense of community that really embraced me for who I am. And that's how I know that's where I belong.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So this question in the chat, this is a question that, you know, we can all go around. Could everybody mute, please? Question from Larissa is, how do you maintain hope while facing all these barriers? Loss of hope is a huge part of returning to unhealthy choices. Who wants to take it first?
repeat it again. How do you keep from losing hope?
How do you maintain hope while facing all these barriers? Loss of hope is a huge part of returning to unhealthy choices.
I can start with that. I know you had just went over finding a creator, finding something that is going to determine you or to help you, support you. I think for as far as hope, where was I gonna go with this? Can you say that one more time?
How do you maintain hope while facing all these barriers? Loss of hope is a huge part of returning to unhealthy choices.
That's a good question.
It's a very good question.
So and not to be funny, but let's try to keep it to like 2 minutes to let everybody.
Right. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna skip this one.
Okay.
I had a really good one again.
I don't lose faith.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just keep going and day by day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would
So
say, trying to remain hopeful is looking at the bigger picture that will keep you hopeful. Like, you know, the outcome of what you're trying to do or want to do. And yeah, I'll just say, thinking about your future, I think will keep you hopeful.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Nice.
Well, I think that I've lived for so much of my life without hope that once I tapped into it, I ain't letting go.
I know that's
don't
right.
care what happens. Like I can look down the tunnel, you know, of my life, and the things that have happened to me, the things that have occurred, the opportunities that I've been given. Since I figured out that I can hope, keep me hopeful. Like things continue to change. I am not who I used to be. I do not think like I used to, make the same choices that I used to. That right there is my hope.
Facts.
Serenity, having peace. That was where I was going with that. I think a lot of the times you have to find that peaceful place for yourself in situations like that too. Losing hope. If you have no hope, you're not at peace. And you need to be at peace with yourself. You have to be content in order for anything to work out. You know, so having that clear or that serenity, you know, however people, you know, whichever way that you vent or you mourn or whatever.
You know, I think that's really important to mention that serenity, because like things have become chaotic
Right.
in my life.
And
Like I can have emotional ups and downs, but there is always a baseline
Yeah,
of serenity, no matter what is going on in my life.
yeah.
There's always that serenity, because I know that things are where they're supposed to be, you know, and that gives me peace, and that's part of the hope that I have.
And I always see a positive outcome when I see that Selena just getting anxious, like, you know, just out of character. I have to put myself in that quiet, my own quiet place for that, you know, what hour or even a day. Sometimes I'll leave all day and I don't go home, you know, because I'd rather take a walk at the park. You know, I'd rather be outside versus being inside, you know, and just taking that time to find myself again. If you ain't got no hope.
Yeah, you
That's
just
sad.
have to say, it's that hope springs eternal
yeah.
in human breast, right?
Oh, yeah.
You just gotta find what I'm saying. Hope and faith
And
go hand in
I
hand.
had absolutely no thought. When I went in, I was so bad to the point where I didn't see myself where I'm at right now 3 years ago. There's no way. Like I was beaten. I was almost killed. I was in an abusive relationship for 14 and a half years. And it was just so bad that I'm like, I had no hope. I had nothing. I'm like, take me. I mean, Miss Marino, you know, you're wanted all over Minnesota. Take me. That's how bad I wanted to get off the street. And I had no hope for nothing, but it was like,
yeah,
that was.
the hope.
And
So
again,
I
that
think-
is so
I think
true.
we tell
Yes.
ourselves that we have no hope, I haven't had hope. There's always.
There always is.
There's always a mustard seed of faith.
yeah, come on.
It's always there.
Yep.
It's always there. And the more you pour into it, the bigger it becomes.
Mhm. And that's huge because I didn't think I would be here right now. I did not. I've never, I mean,
Look at us.
it was so bad. And same thing with the reentry. I was scared when all these people were like, this is my 5th time back. I'm like, oh, hell no.
Mhm.
I don't want to go through this. What is wrong with you? Like, I don't want that, you know? And a lot of people are desperate. A lot of women, I should say too, and men are desperate for that comfort. They're just desperate for that hope. Some people don't want to live their lives like that. And if you don't want to, you're not going to.
Exactly.
If you want to change, if you want to help other people, and yeah, and I did not think, I was done. I was ready to die. Didn't care about anything. I'm
Facts.
here.
Appreciate you being here, Amy.
I think that for me, being unnurtured and not knowing that I was lovable, a big part of what keeps hope for me is standing on the fact that I am lovable. And I reinforce that by making investments into myself. A lot of times people come in from being unnurtured and unloved, they're starved for it. And in a sense, the refrigerator is empty. And somebody who comes by and offers them pizza with all of these conditions, I'll feed you, but you gotta get nice wine. It's the same thing as somebody who has never been loved. You know, I'm gonna love you, but you're gonna be who I want you to be.
Yeah.
And you're
Exactly.
gonna do what I want you to do.
Yeah.
And we settle for it.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of it my whole life, you know, and the only thing that's changed with me now, you know, at age 41, is that I'm taking the time to love myself first. Because loving me leads to being a better version of me, which includes a better father, a better friend, a better employee, a representative of my community, you know, and I can't lose sight of the fact that I didn't have that when I was young. And I can't lose the fact that I need to nurture that for myself because somebody else can do it for me.
Right.
People
Good
can add to it. People can attempt to take away from it, but ultimately learning how to love myself is my
It's up to
responsibility.
you, that's right.
Absolutely.
While we're closing and while we wrap this up, I would just like to take the time for everybody to go around and give themselves a positive affirmation. Say something to your current self that's positive. We're gonna start with you, Leah.
No,
We're gonna
start
go-
over here so it gives me time.
He just did that to me because he knew I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
You want- And then I lost my train
Either
of thought.
or. I mean, we can start with Amy,
Yeah.
because I mean, you did.
No, that's not the
Positive
question.
affirmation.
Positive affirmation.
For your current self right now, to you, this is a message to you.
We got 2 minutes left.
I am very strong.
Good girl, you got this.
That's a good one.
I have the potential.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
To myself right now, I would say I forgive myself and I can do whatever I put my mind to.
Right, I'm very powerful.
I am lovely.
Love you, Mosaic.
I am everything.
Oh, I know that.
I'm making a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Well, in wrapping this up, I just want to thank all of you wonderful women for sharing your vulnerability, pieces of your story, for educating folks, and for empowering others. We at the Minnesota Second Chance Coalition certainly appreciate you. We as individuals also appreciate and relate to you and your story. Best of luck to everybody. Love you all.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks to our audience too for showing up and showing up.
Yes,
How much
thank
love
you.
did I
Thank you
get
for
during
coming.
this video?